So to begin all of our presentations here at Royal Roads, it's important to acknowledge that Royal Roads University lives, learns, and works on the traditional lands of the Kusepsum and Lekwungen families. There has been a long history of teaching, learning, and gathering on these lands, and it's with great gratitude that we are able to be on these lands as well. So my name is Selena Kunar. I'm an education advisor here at Royal Roads University, and we are all here today to explore the Graduate Certificate in Strategic Human Resources Management. We're so lucky to be joined by Dr. Zoe MacLeod, the Associate Vice President of Professional and Continuing Studies, who has helped us get to explore this program a lot more as we move throughout today's session. So we've told you a tad bit about who we are, but we are more interested in learning about all of you. So if you feel comfortable in the chat box, letting us know, where are you joining us from today? What sector are you working in? And if you like, let us know what you're hoping to learn on today's webinar. That'll give us a way to make sure that all the information is curated to you. So while folks figure out where the chat box is and those intros start coming in, I'm just going to move through how we're going to spend the rest of our time together today. So next, we're going to move into an exploration of the Royal Roads University experience, head into the program overview, and cap off with a walkthrough of our application process and program requirements. Of course, we'll leave time at the end of our session for any questions that may have come up, but please feel free to pop things in the chat box as we go, as we're all really excited to explore those together. Speaking of our chat box, you will notice that you might not be able to see Lisa visually, but you will absolutely see Lisa Murray in our chat box, helping answer questions and provide some helpful links. Lisa's part of our enrollment team, and she's here to help answer any questions you may have about this program or any others on our campus as well. So thanks so much for being here, Lisa. So I'm going to turn my attention to my second monitor so you can take a peek at some of the folks who are joining us today. So we have Moscow from Edmonton, who works in the financial services sector. A hello from Lisa. Thanks so much, Lisa, who's joining us from her home in Saanich, BC. We have Helen, who works at the University of Victoria, supporting students' career development and work integrated learning, who's looking at exploring Pro-D opportunities. So is looking forward to seeing whether this is a good fit, having always been interested in human development. Oh, well, thanks so much for joining us, Helen. We have Michelle from Vancouver, currently working in the retail sector, specifically systems training. Thank you so much for being here, Michelle, as well. And a big thank you to all of you. Please feel free to continue popping the intros in the chat box. It's a great way to get a sense of all the different backgrounds that come together to create such a diverse learning environment in this program. So speaking of our learning environment, we are so fortunate to be able to host a portion of our learning on our physical campus here in Victoria, BC. So as you can see from these photos, we're so blessed to have Hatley Castle, our Japanese gardens, and a variety of other curated gardens, as well as a Esquimalt lagoon surrounding our beautiful over 500 acres of overgrowth forest. While we are so lucky to have this beautiful physical space, we've actually been leaders in online education for over 25 years. So as you'll see from this program, and if you take a cruise through our website, many of our programs are offered not only on campus, fully online, but blended as well. So this expertise in having the on-campus learning, as well as the pedagogy and technological capacity to move through learning in an online space is really special and unique to the learning we provide here at Royal Roads University. This was particularly important as we all experienced the turbulent times that came along with the current COVID-19 pandemic we are experiencing. Here at Royal Roads, we were able to ensure that our learners and all of those who were eager to start programs at our university had a very smooth transition, moving any on-campus learning fully online to ensure the safety of our faculty, staff, and students. And we'll explore a little bit more about what that online learning looks like as we head into the program overview. So with that, I will pass the microphone over to you, Zoe.
Thank you so much, Selena, and welcome everyone. Thank you for your interest in the Graduate Certificate in Strategic Human Resources Management. I hope you're all healthy and safe and able to enjoy some of what feels like a fleeting glimpse of the fall season. We're going to talk a little bit about the Strategic Human Resources Management Program, not completely in depth, but a high level overview. And so, on the next slide, it kind of talks about why strategic human resources management, and really the question might be more suited to be something more like, how can we enable and empower our HR leaders to be more effective and more connected to the overall strategy of the organization. What an incredible time for us to be exploring human potential and the leadership of human resources. The current situation surely is seeing HR departments of many organizations completely overwhelmed and pivoting their policies and practices at lightning speed. I don't know about you guys, but many of us used to have an old no working from home policy, so that's probably changed pretty rapidly in the last little while. So, the global pandemic has accelerated the need for new and different ways of working, leading teams, supporting health and wellness of employees, creating professional development opportunities, and surely gives us rise for reflection and reviewing priorities across all portfolios, including human resources. So, and as many of you will likely have encountered, the last few months have been extremely taxing. It takes stamina, courage, increasing resilience to step into leadership roles, never mind managing people, processes, policy changes, and everything in between. And I think this really is HR's moment to help lead organizations into the future. So we're going to talk a little bit about the outcomes of the program. And throughout the program, we will be specifically looking at kind of the future of HR. We may look a little bit at the past. Some of our organizations feel a little bit broken these days. But our focus will be more on what is needed right now, and of course, what does that mean for the future of HR? You may already be in a leadership role with regards to HR, and if you are, you're already doing amazing things, and we'll look at ways to add that to your skill set, And if you are aspiring to take on a leadership role in HR, or you're working specifically with, managing people, we'll look at how you can actually advance your career and what are the skills and abilities that you will need to be able to do that. So if you go on to the next slide, Selena, we're also going to look at ways in which you will build your current competencies and gain new ones. And, we're going to look at the way the world of HR is shifting. How can we all be better collaborators, communicators, and business partners? And how can we lead our own teams and help others to lead theirs in new and different ways? Leading virtual teams is a whole new meaning right now, doesn't it? So, we'll be looking at ways we lead organizational change and learning how to ask new and powerful questions that will connect HR to the organization in strategic ways. We'll look at what it takes to transform teams, systems, and cultures in this new digital world. And of course, our intent is that we want you to bring your own context with you so that the learning is really relevant for you. And on the program overview slide, sorry, Selena, I asked you to move it forward, but it wasn't quite done yet. This program really is a 7-month program. Speaking specifically about the upcoming offering, we've made some changes and we'll talk a little bit about that. It can be 6 months, but depending on when we start in January, it actually, this one ends up being about 7 months. And typically the program is a blended model in the sense that you would come to campus for 5 full days, do distance learning, online learning, and then come back for 3 days. And so what we're basically doing this year is still having a blended model, but the blended is asynchronous and synchronous at the same time. So instead of the 5-day residency that you would be participating in on campus, you would actually be participating virtually. So, that same 5 days will be a full 5 days. And the 3-day virtual residency at the end will be a pretty full 3 days at the end as well. So the program is actually made up of 3 courses. The first one, as I mentioned, is normally delivered in a blended format. And while there will be a little bit more time for you to engage in the learning experience in a virtual way, our focus really is on the real-time and applied learning. And so, we'll focus on mindful approaches to collaboration and bringing HR management processes to the forefront of strategic organization development initiatives. And, like I mentioned before, you will explore the challenges and prospects of developing learning organizations. Some of you may be aspiring to that already, and this will assist you, but also to gain a better understanding of emerging perspectives in HR. Wise practices, if you will, that you would be working towards. And of course, in the 5-day virtual residency, we usually engage in what we call an HR leadership challenge. So an external organization comes in with a challenge, and you would work within your teams to provide recommendations, possibly even just validation for the work that they're already doing, depending on how you think that they're doing. And we'll look at leading practices related to diversity and cultural competence, resilience and adaptability, intergenerational workplaces, health and well-being, virtual and remote working environments, trust and safety as it relates to AI, business continuity, all the things that HR folks are really thinking about at a strategy level these days. We then jump into 2 online courses that they may have some real-time webinars, live synchronous sessions, but the main delivery is really more asynchronous and allows you to work on the course during the weeks, really at the time that works best for you. So for the first course, we'll focus on leading organizational change. What a time to be rethinking how best to equip our organizations in order to be more resilient and adaptable. And then we'll move into really focusing on the prospects and challenges of leading change. In particular, several change models, not necessarily just one, because many of you will be working in your organizations and may have already adapted a change model, but change strategies, barriers to the effective implementation of change, and really developing leadership capacities required to lead those change efforts from an HR perspective. The last course, Coaching for Leadership, is really focused on bringing an inquiry-based approach to your leadership skill and your toolbox, if you will. It's actually the individuals that implement whatever change is being initiated, and so a leader who coaches can be a catalyst for that, for creativity, for performance, and really, as coaching has been proven effective for employee engagement, for performance management, and really building capacity and a coaching culture in your organization. It's not easy work by any means, and of course, we will be just scratching the surface on some of these things, but it will give you the skill set and toolkit really to understand yourself, your teams, your organizations, and the systems from really a strategic human resources lens. And our hope is to set you up with some tools and techniques that help you and your organization to thrive as you navigate the next phase of your organizational journey, whatever that looks like for us. So that's a kind of a snapshot in general. I'm going to pass it back to Selena to talk a little bit more about some transferability and application processes. And we can go for there. Oh, and I just did want to mention that, of course, the program is aligned with the CPHR, BC and Yukon Professional Association. And so we do look at their competencies, and you can use this program for continuing professional development hours should you be needing to do that. Back to you, Selena. Thank you.
Awesome, Zoe. Thank you so much. So we've touched on the courses now, so this is a great time for us to talk about some of the different ways that those courses can be used in a flexible way on our campus. So for those folks who are interested in the program, but you're thinking, okay, maybe I don't want to dive in quite yet to the full program, but I want to start. I want to get my feet wet, and I want to figure out if I can make this work with everything that's going on in my life right now. So that's where General Studies kicks in. General Studies is a great opportunity for folks to take one course at a time to figure out, is this for you? More often than not, our General Studies folks do end up transitioning into the full program, which is wonderful. So if you do complete a course through general studies, you do check that box if you move into the program. Looking a little further on the other side of having completed the program, we have laddering options for folks who are interested in completing a master's program on our campus. So these courses can be used as transfer credits into our MBA in Executive Management, our Master of Global Management, our MA in Interdisciplinary Studies, and our MA in Tourism Management. So if you have any more questions about the flexibility of these courses and the credits and where else they can go on our campus, please connect with Lisa and her team, and they'll be more than happy to continue chatting. So with that, I'm going to pop into a quick overview of the application process as well as the program requirements. We are just around the corner from having some time to answer questions. So if there's anything bubbling for you, this is a great time to start popping them in the chat box. So admission requirements. For this program, our standard admissions is a completion of either an undergraduate 4-year or comparable degree, or a graduate degree in a related field from a recognized post-secondary institution, as well as normally 3 years of relevant full-time work experience. Here at Railroads, we also have something called flexible admissions. So flexible admissions can also be conceptualized as the professional pathway for those folks who may not have the traditional academic background, but who have been working in their field for a number of years and have gained that real world, that lived experience, which is so valued in our classrooms. So flexible admissions requires applicants to normally have at least 5 years of extensive, relevant work experience and some post-secondary education. Flexible admissions is something that's assessed on a case-by-case basis. So if you have any questions about what flexible admissions could mean for you, please connect with Lisa and her team, as they're more than happy to explore what that could look like for you as an entry into this program. So how to apply. This is a quick snapshot of the steps to apply to this program or any others on our campus. So you begin with an online application, and that includes a fee of $126.28. Once that online application is in, we then look for some supporting documents. For example, an official transcript, personal statement, detailed resume, and 2 letters of reference. Our website is a wonderful resource to help support you as you put together these documents. For example, the professional statement, there's some guiding questions to help you understand, okay, what should I be answering? What information can I provide in this personal statement that could be helpful? Your detailed resume. We have some tips and tricks on the website as to how your resume can be structured to ensure all of your accomplishments shine bright. And finally, our official transcripts and 2 letters of reference. On our website, you can find some information as to how those can be submitted to our offices. Upcoming intakes. So we are so excited that the next intake of this program is just around the corner. So the next intake will begin January 4th, 2021, putting its application deadline at December 4th, 2020. If you're planning a little further out, we do also have our 2022 date posted. So that program will begin January 4th, 2022, putting our application deadline at October 4th, 2021. This is a great time for me to highlight that here at Railroads, we accept applications on a rolling basis. So that means we're not going to be waiting until December 4th to take a look at the applications that have come in for the coming intake. Instead, as online applications are submitted and supporting documents come into our offices, we're able to adjudicate your application and let you know about the seat in the program. So that means if there is an intake that's of interest to you, that works best with your schedule, we recommend getting your online application in as soon as you can and starting to check off those supporting documents. So financial aid. This, of course, is a question we get all the time, which is wonderful. We are so excited to have a financial aids and awards office staffed with specialists who have their fingertips on resources that are available both internally and externally as well. So if you'd like more information about loans, awards, research scholarships, or other types of funding, please connect with our Financial Aids and Awards office, as they have their information to make sure you're set up with any resources that are available to you. So here on the slide, we've noted the website, which is railroads.ca/financial-aid-awards, and then also their local and toll-free telephone numbers as well. Taking a quick peek in our chat box, I see Lisa has also provided the link to the blog. So please, that's a great place to get a feel for our Financial Aids and Awards office and read on some tips and tricks that they post in their blog as well. Speaking of Lisa, she is just one beautiful example of the teams we have here at Railroads who are eager to help you explore what learning at Railroads could look like. So if you'd like to connect with Lisa and her team to chat about this program or any others on our campus, you can find her and her team at learn.more@railroads.ca. And if you're joining us internationally, our international admissions and registration team is happy to continue the conversation at learn.more.international@railroads.ca. And with that, we have come to the end of our presentation, but the start of an opportunity to answer any questions that have come in our chat box. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now and then turn my attention that way. So starting from the top, I see here that we have a question from Helen. So what does a typical cohort look like? How many with an undergraduate degree? How many with a graduate? How many with professional experience? And what kind of organizations do they work? And what kinds of positions? Average age, country of residence. So just looking for a pretty broad overview of what the cohort looks like.
Yeah, I'm happy to answer that. I mean, it's interesting, Helen, because we've been running the program actually since 2001. So this is a long-standing program. Of course, we update and refresh the curriculum always. But the typical cohort is, I'm going to say, roughly around 20 people who join us. Many of them would have had an undergraduate degree because that's part of the criteria, admissions criteria for coming in. So an undergraduate and some work experience, though we do have a flexible admissions process. So if somebody didn't have an undergraduate degree but had been working in, kind of the accidental HR space for a while, or is really interested in advancing but has enough work experience, then we would, adjudicate that file on a one-off basis and explore what makes the most sense for them. Or is this the right program for them? That kind of thing as well. So, the average age, I'm going to say, is probably between 35 and 40. I don't have that data handy, but that's kind of the average age. We often see people who already have master's degrees coming back because this is a specific skill set that they need in the current job that they're in. We usually see mainly Canadians, although of course we do have an opportunity for and encourage international students to join our program. But because of the structure in the past, it was you needed to come to campus for a week, and that was a bit challenging. So it was much more of a domestic oriented program, though of course that could change this time, we don't know. And then sometimes we will see international students who are on campus taking a master's program, whether it's global management or MBA, using this program as a specialization, which really is an excellent way to get a kind of a diverse cohort experience as well. They come from all kinds of organizations. So many of them are working in HR, but some actually might be either, working and planning to be consulting as a business partner from outside the organization. And sometimes people are really just looking for this skill set, whether it's in their own leadership role or really understanding organization development from a human resources perspective, as opposed to necessarily right in the human resources department. So hopefully that gives you kind of a quick sense of it. We do a lot of teamwork and and in fact, especially in the coaching program, a lot of application of the skills. So you'd be doing a lot of coaching and learning the actual skill set of coaching in the program. So lots of interaction and engagement, and hopefully that answers your question. I should say, though, if you do have other questions, Helen and others, that don't get answered here, feel free to reach out to me if you have questions specific to content, or you have ideas or something that I didn't cover that you wondered if it's in the program. Happy to answer those questions for you as well. And of course, all of our admissions advisors are always happy to answer questions too.
We have another question here. In reference to the learning intensive, that online residency. So for this time around, will that 5-day mostly include synchronous components? Should people be looking at blocking that time off?
Yeah, what we've been finding is that it's been really, people have been really saying, look, I booked this time, it's easier for me to book a week, please make it during that week, and so hold that week for us. We do have a fair bit of synchronous activities during the week, but then of course you might have some teamwork and you might use a different platform, or you might have some asynchronous time, team time, etc., or even just some individual reflection time and reading time. So it is a pretty good mix, but for the most part during that 5 days you would kind of expect it to be available from a synchronous perspective for the 5 days.
Wonderful. And we have a question that was submitted by someone who registered for the session. So wondering, although I don't have specific academic HR experience, it would be helpful to know if I'd experienced any difficulty or challenges me not having that formal HR education prior to enrolling. So this must be someone I'm guessing who has the work experience in the field, but maybe not that traditional academic background.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, we're looking at folks for this program who would have already kind of done the technical HR knowledge. But if you don't have previous HR education, that's okay. We can certainly talk about that. We do see people come into the program who aren't coming from an HR background and may not have HR learning experience necessarily, but they are likely in a management role and working with teams and really looking to figure out how to develop people and lead the organization forward. So not necessarily would you need the HR academic background, but some sort of educational experience to help complement your experience as well. And all of those are, kind of could be one-off questions as well. Lisa would be happy to have a conversation with you about the fit and is this the right program and such. So she's probably the best person to connect to, but happy to answer those questions too.
And then I have one more question. So if there are other questions bubbling for folks, please pop them into the chat box and we'll do our best to get to them before we end our session today. So the question from one of our registrants was, will membership into the CPHR and designation be supported through the program versus credits for those already with the CPHR designation?
Yeah, it's a great question. We have an amazing relationship with CPHR and work together very closely on a number of things. This program in particular, we're looking at the accreditation process so that we can waive the knowledge exam. We're not there yet, and there's some changes happening, with the association as well. So we're working on what that could look like. But for the most part, at this moment, the program provides, continuing professional development hours for those who already have CPHR. And my guess is, if you had a conversation with CPHR and you told them that you were doing this program, they would probably, be open to exploring what that could look like in terms of education hours towards the CPHR.
Wonderful. And that was a perfect question to cap off our question and conversations today. So before we sign off, Lisa has put wonderful links and comments in our chat box, but one specifically that I wanted to share. So Lisa's typed, we encourage applicants to chat with our amazing alumni who can share their RU experience and how they're applying their learning. So if you'd like to chat with one of our amazing alumni from this program, feel free to connect with Lisa directly at lisa.murray@railroads.ca, and she can help make that happen. Thanks so much for popping that in, Lisa. Oh, and Helen for asking such a wonderful question. Thank you. So one more thank you. Thank you to all of you for joining us today. We hope that we provided some helpful information and laid the ground to continue the conversation. Please connect with Lisa, Zoe, and myself, as we're so excited to continue chatting and then hopefully see you in our classrooms, whether that is physically or virtually as well. So we wish you a great rest of your morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on where and when you're watching this recording. Goodbye, everyone.
Thanks so much.